Greetings, Foundry, and exclamation point. You chaps see the Switch juice gaining more performance over time via increased clock speeds and further optimization of the quote-unquote made for Switch DLSS. After playing DK Bonanza, I'm already begging for more power! Exclamation point. Cheers! Exclamation point. Yeah, John, I'm not... I've got two thoughts on this, because if we see what happened with Switch 1, there was some movement there, but it only ever happened in handheld. GPU clocks did increase over time as options to developers.
Yes.
But the docked clocks, as far as I'm aware, never changed at all.
I don't think they did.
No. So I don't know. I don't really see. I think it's going to be down to developers to just optimize to the hardware that they've got. And maybe there will be some sort of improvements with made for Switch DLSS, but I don't know. What do you think?
I'm pretty sure we're not going to see any movement in that sense.
Yeah.
So it's probably going to remain fixed, and we just have to hope for the best from the developers. I mean, in an unusual thing, obviously with DK Bonanza, the director, I think, came out before launch and noted that, we went more for the fun over the performance.
Right.
But I still think that's selling the game short, because I think it is largely 60 FPS. It's just, there's definitely some little dips here and there, and certain scenes definitely don't run as well as they should, but overall it's fine.
Yeah, it's interesting though, because I often listen to the way you guys present, frame rate drops within the context of the full game. And sometimes you say like, oh, it's 99%, 99.9% fine, but that's still like quite a lot of frames in the 0.1% over like 60 hours of gameplay, but it is kind of actually quite localized. And although there have been some comments that the later bosses can be quite impactful on that. I'm not sure full performance is actually, more performance is actually the answer there, because you look at the handheld game that actually has proper VRR and it's much improved. So, I just think maybe if they actually properly implemented VRR on the dock side, that would probably go a long way to solving the problem.
Exactly, man. We really need docked VR. And we also need VR just to work properly, or, support that 120 hertz output to get the full range. But I feel like DK is the least of the concerns right now. We're just already seeing all kinds of weirdness with Switch 2 performance that concerns me, but we'll see.
Yeah, Oliver?
DK is also kind of a weird situation, especially with like the low CPU clock, because it's all voxel based, and I just feel like DK is a weird game to generalize from. Like it's doing different things to the system than other similar titles are doing, I think, on the system. But I would say, clock speeds could be improved for sure on the GPU. We did see that on Switch 1. I think the maximum clock rate on Switch 1 is like 461 megahertz or something. And at launch, it was like 304 megahertz, and then or 307 megahertz, I think, and then it was like 384 megahertz, and then 461. I don't know why I have those numbers in my head, but I think like, it was just a situation, I think, where I think probably Nintendo was getting feedback from developers that they needed to improve those clocks, and so they did. For more demanding titles, they did give developers that option. But I think this might depend on what Nintendo's plans look like for a Switch 2 revision, because at the moment, the Switch 2 has, I would say, not very good battery life. But I think Nintendo might be more inclined to open up those clock rates for game developers to use if they say in like a year or 2 years have like a 5nm Switch 2 revision that can easily handle the increased load, easily handle the increased power consumption without throwing up too much of a problem and still delivering like 3 or 4 hours of battery life. But if they don't have that model, then all the Switch 2 models, in their 8nm/10nm process are going to have, I would say, pretty poor battery life in those games, right? If they're significantly increasing the GPU clock in portable mode. So there are a lot of factors. Also, I would say the memory clock in portable mode is also decreased quite a bit. So that could be another area where potentially they would want to improve the performance of that silicon.
Yeah, it's interesting because I might be wrong here, but I'm pretty sure that those id Tech games on Switch 1 had some sort of dynamic GPU clocking going on there, where basically the clock speeds would go up if required. which is almost like PC-like behavior. The extent of the hit to battery life there, as long as it is only, occasionally going into that higher clock speed bracket when needed, it wouldn't have too much of an impact on battery life. And I actually think that, if you can guarantee 2 solid hours of battery life, anything beyond that's gravy. So if there was the opportunity to actually, because a lot of the games are running like at, 2 hours 15, 2 hours 30, if there was the sort of potential for a dynamic clock speed boost, to level performance where needed, that could maybe work. I would expect to see a lot more happening in the handheld side of things versus docked, though, because they've obviously done, a lot of work on ascertaining the thermal budgets and whatnot, running the GPU so much faster. So I wouldn't expect to see too much changing there.